Joining us now is Nick Dall, who's a sports journalist, and Kaya Malotana, who's a commentator and former Springbok player. A very good afternoon to you both, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time. We've just listened to the excitement as the Boks land on home soil. Perhaps, Nick, let's start with you as we celebrate the Boks victory, and we really listened to what they had to say this morning, talking about how they performed and what it was like working together as a team. What has stood out for you as the Boks have been out there playing and now landing on home soil?
Yeah, I mean, I think their attitude and the way they have each other's backs and they stand together and there's no blame ever. That's what stood out for me. And I think what really strikes me is that if our country, South Africa, was run in the same way that the Springboks are run, and people of all races and backgrounds and languages and religions could work together for a common cause, we would be a global force to be reckoned with. I mean, the Springboks are the world champions. They beat the 5 best teams in the world. South Africa as a country doesn't achieve the same kind of feats, but we're made of the same people. I mean, they're a team of South Africans, just like our country. So that's what really the message that I was left with watching their performances.
Mm. Kaya, just coming to you, we heard Coach Jacques Nienaber this afternoon, talking about why they're successful, speaking about how everybody sort of plays their role and they understand their role and also know that they're just a group of players who are more than just the title. How did that impact you as you listen to that, and also perhaps reflecting on your time as a Springbok player?
My time as a Springbok player was many moons ago, and things were certainly not at this level of professionalism as it is now. Yes, I mean, we played the '99 World Cup, which was the one immediately after rugby became a fully professional sport. But the level of detail in analysis, in planning, the way conditioning was done, everything is so different now than it was then. And the success of this team, is credit to the man hours that Jacques and Rassie, with Zwandile, John Davids, Felix Jones, all these guys have put in an immense amount of hours behind the scenes with the planning for this team. Mm. And that planning, rubs off on the quality of what each player then brings to the table, because everybody knows exactly what they need to get done. They know exactly what they need to cover, and everybody believes in that, in each player and their role they need to play. Nobody doubts anybody's ability in what they need to deliver for the team. And I think this is where they are able to operate without egos and focus on team excellence and focus on the outputs that need to be excellent. Because when they are excellent, everybody gains. And everybody gains because everybody is excellent in their part. And, that alludes to what Nick is saying. I mean, if our country was run in the same manner where I'm expected to, qualify to do what I'm doing, because those guys have to meet the conditioning norms that are set out for them. If I'm qualified to do what I'm doing, and in our group of in our team, I deliver excellently what is expected of me, then everybody else can do the same for themselves, and the country can operate a lot better like that.
Yeah. Nick, just adding to that, we heard Siya Kolisi this afternoon speaking about, really commending the coaching team, saying that they knew how to align them as a team and aligning people essentially from different walks of life, different races. How imperative is that, do you think, in the success of a team such as the Boks?
I mean, I think it's absolutely vital. I mean, it is, to me, proof that this country can be successful. Because, I mean, I think our politics and our, society is, since '94, we've kind of gone backwards in some ways, especially maybe in the last decade. And sort of, you see identity politics and faction fighting and that kind of thing coming to the fore again. And the Springboks is like an example that it doesn't have to be that way. If we, stronger together, it's a cheesy slogan, but it's absolutely true. And they embody it every time they play. It's just utterly inspiring.
You speak about going backwards in the last decade, and of course we have seen that there has essentially been a whitewashing of the history of black rugby. A lot of the perceptions are that it's just a white sport, and that not necessarily including other races. But what we've seen on the field right now is a blend, a good blend of black, white, coloured, and that, the history books, as I read here, that black rugby in South Africa may have been lost to history, but it dates back as far as the late 1800s, that black people have always played rugby. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, that's what I think what you've got me here. It's, there's this sort of, Rassie's brilliant, Sia's brilliant, everyone accepts that. But underlying that euphoria is this kind of assumption that maybe blacks discovered rugby in '95 when Mandela gave the trophy to Francois Pienaar. But that's just, nothing could be further from the truth. The school that Mandela went to already had a thriving rugby team in 1930. Blacks, coloureds have been playing rugby in South Africa since the 1850s or 60s, informally. The South African Coloured Rugby Football Board, which did not discriminate on race, language, or religion, was formed in 1897. Now, this isn't just a pioneering thing in a sporting sense. This body, this not multiracial sports body, was formed more than a decade before the ANC. There's something, Siya Kolisi comes from a club that was founded in 1954. Cheslin Colby and Makazole Mapimpi come from clubs that are over 100 years old. And this is just entirely forgotten. The first 550 Springboks, something like that, only 2 were players of color. And those were in the 1980s to kind of appease the international community who were trying to sanction South African sport. And the reasons for this exclusion are nothing to do with talent or commitment or for a love of rugby. They're everything to do with the history of our country and the society. Kaya Molotana comes from, he's not from the 1890s, but he comes from a part of the country that has been playing rugby for 150 years. And I would love to hear his take on, what it was like playing when he was a youngster.
Yes, you're taking over my interview because that was my next question. Kaya, what was it like for you playing back then as we listened to the dynamics around race?
I think for us, we started at a time when obviously the entire dynamic of the country was changing. From apartheid to the new South Africa. And so acceptance was not an easy thing to take part in now what needs to be an equal opportunity for all. And so it wasn't really an easy road, but, what I love about the sport is the fact that when you bring your side and you show commitment to what you bring to the table, it becomes an easier project than just wanting handouts. And we certainly were made to work to lay the platform for the other guys to come after us. I remember, playing for border rugby under Gert Smal at the time. And we were playing the likes of the British and Irish Lions. We were playing Scotland, we were playing Wales, and we were holding our own. And border, unlike the other unions where quota system was such a big thing, border was just naturally transformed because we were just so many non-white players that were playing the sport and were good at it. And so I think that kind of helps, coming from an environment where you are in the team because of what you bring to the table. So by the time you get to representative teams like your SA under-19, under-21s, all the way to Springbok Rugby, you are in the team because you also believe in yourself. Even though the narrative on the outside is that this guy is here because we need him to be here to serve a purpose of numbers, but you are able to be in the environment and focus on making those friendships and making those connections and bring your side to the table, and so you can get comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And, we've certainly walked a long way from then till now, because this is the first World Cup for me where you haven't heard a narrative about this team is not representative. You haven't had the narrative of maybe let's take their passports so they don't travel because we're not happy with the demographics. This is the first time we felt we've had a transformed team that really reflects who we are as South Africans. And they carried, the slogan that embodies all of us, or what we all need to embody, and that is stronger together.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let me thank you for your time. Kaya Malotana, who's a commentator and former Springbok player, as well as Nick Dall, who's a sports journalist, just weighing in on the Boks return to home and really analyzing the history of the Springboks. Still to come,